Ladies and gentlemen, on today, the 8th of January 2016, I am Mitchell Belfer. I'm the president of the Euro-Gulf Information Center, and I'm standing here as tensions in the Middle East continue to spiral, in some cases even, we would say, to fever pitch, as the Iranians and the Saudis stand off against one another over their latest spat, which seems somehow to involve the domestic political situation in Saudi Arabia spilling over because of the Iranians into the adjacent and neighbouring countries. And by now already the diplomatic missions of most of the GCC countries, in addition you have also Somalia and Sudan, having withdrawn their diplomatic staff from Tehran and from Iran in general. What you have started to see is a real drawing of lines in the proverbial sand, as the Iranians and the Saudis are both kind of squaring off against one another. Here at the Euro-Gulf Information Center, it's our responsibility to be able to inform the international public about those events so that people don't get misguided, let's say, in the sense that the media has certain ambitions in what they want to cover and how they want to cover things. But we at the center are not under those kind of constraints, and it's more, I think, important for us that the international public know just what's going on in the Gulf region. And I want to point out that it's not a coincidence that as the Iranians start to demonstrate in Tehran, all of a sudden there's demonstrations in Kuwait, and there's demonstrations in the eastern provinces of Saudi Arabia, and there's demonstrations in Bahrain. Because in fact, the way that the Iranians have built their followings in all of the GCC countries, you find very small minorities of the Shia sect inside of other countries that agitate at the behest of Tehran. So every time there's an issue that involves Iran, you'll find that, for example, in Bahrain, you'll find a very small number of Shia in Bahrain demonstrating against the government. And this week we also saw the uncovering of a very serious plot by Hezbollah members, and everybody knows that Hezbollah is nothing but an extension and a proxy of Iran unfold in Bahrain. And so it becomes something more than just an issue of Saudi Arabia and Iran. It becomes an issue of regional security, regional stability. And when you talk about the region, you're talking about one of the most pivotal regions in terms of economics and hydrocarbons, but also as a crossroad between Asia and Europe. That's why it's called the Middle East. In addition to this, you have some serious problems in many of the other outlying areas around the Gulf. In Yemen, you have an unfolding civil war, which is not a civil war at all. But once again, you can see the hand of Iran pushing against Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia acting more or less in a defensive manner there. Go north, you find the Shia and Sunni battling it out, both in Syria as well as in Iraq. And there, once again, you find that the Iranians have pushed and prodded many of the Shia militia to form. And of course, the war there is against ISIS, but many people forget to address the real reasoning behind the rise of ISIS and why the Sunni tribes, especially in Anbar province of Iraq, why they felt the obligation to come together behind any kind of political authority that was going to fill a vacuum as the Shia militias pushed their way northbound, trying to, kind of fulfill Iran's ambitions of reaching the Mediterranean. And in fact, that's what's happening. Iran is attempting to reach the Mediterranean and to project itself not as a great regional power in the Gulf, but as a great power in the Middle East in general, and from the Middle East as a great international power. So much of what we see occurring in the Middle East is really just an extension of the pushback or the blowback against Iranian hegemonic ambitions, which are pushing their way not only towards the Mediterranean, but also south, pincing Saudi Arabia in the Yemen. The EGIC remains committed to working with Europeans as well as with the Gulf in order to overcome some of these problems. But we also, have a responsibility to the international public to inform this public of the driving forces behind policy and, in some cases, behind conflict in the region. So thank you for listening to this segment, and I will be back periodically with more updates and reviews about the Gulf. Thank you.